girls sometimes like cause fights because they want to feel fought for, but then we kind of just end up fighting for nothing. Relax on like the whole, we want the best for Micah. I've never liked any of Micah's boyfriends. I've single-handedly ruined Micah's relationships before. Like, that's so annoying to me. Ladies, if you find yourself in an argument with somebody and they let slip that they just saw you as a project, if they let that slip, you need to slip out of that relationship. I just have a crush on Paul. Like, Brett is man candy to me. Love is Blind, season 4, episodes 6 through 8. I'm so excited. Because this show was mainly meant for discussion. Like, the people of this show, like, their lives are for our entertainment. So I'm excited to get into it. I'm not going to do the whole recap thing. I'm going to do the standout moments and the red flag moments, or kind of like the more spicy moments of the season, because we all watched the same thing, basically. We all watched the same thing, so I don't need to go through scene by scene, moment by moment, exactly how I felt about it. I just want to go through like the things that kind of stuck in my brain. Can you imagine being brave enough to come on this show and to have millions of just random Netflix users just view your life and your romantic choices? Like, I can't imagine somebody judging me and my husband in our like regular everyday lives and like the building of our relationship and just be like fine with that. Like, I would not be brave enough to do this. These people are like braver than the Marines, for real. They're braver than the Marines. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Please don't take me serious. I mean no disrespect. So we are now in the real world aspect of the show, the real world phase, in the way that like they're out of the pods, they're out of the honeymoon phase, a actual honeymoon, and now they are living together. So like they're moved in, which is crazy after the honeymoon, just moving in for the first time. That's wild to me. That is crazy. They're moved in, they're meeting each other's families and friends. What? They're also having like legitimate disagreements, which I think is so interesting. Honestly, like this is my problem with the whole pods idea. When you're in the pods, you have this like romanticized, fantasized synonyms version of what you think somebody is. And like, regardless of what they say, if you like something that they say, you're not gonna like challenge anything about your bond unless you like legitimately want to get into a conversation that you could both respectfully disagree on. Like, there is no way that, especially these people, there's no way that they were getting into like challenging discussions in the pods. It was probably all very kind of like surface level with like a little bit of maybe some deep background, like, you know how Zach did admit that his mom was a legitimate stripper, but then he made a joke about like being a stripper. I kind of feel like you need to have like uncomfortable disagreements and arguments in order to say that you are truly in love with somebody. I feel like I didn't really fully know my partner until we got into one of our first couple arguments, because I really do feel like that showed not only how they felt about a certain thing that I didn't agree with, but like their values. And like, you kind of do have to argue out the things you need to argue out in order to like realize like, oh, do we align on this? Can we communicate through this? Is this something that I want to put up with for the rest of my life, you know? So the pods to me is very unrealistic, because it just is like, you're not going to get into those arguments or those disagreements in a realistic manner. But you need that to be like truly in love, in my opinion. When I saw Zach and Bliss, immediately I wanted Bliss to reject Zach. I wanted Bliss to just rise above this whole entire thing, just because she's a genuinely kind person. At least that's what it looks like. And in my opinion, I just feel like she needs to be put first. And Zach was saying like, oh, you're not the second choice because this is how it was meant to be, because this is just how it played out. But she really was. Like, she was chose second because, what's her name? Irena. I'm just going to call her Irena because it's fun. Irena didn't want him, like, and didn't treat him well. But he didn't, like, put a foot down and say, hey, Irena, you're a horrible person. We can't do this because you treat me like garbage. It was just kind of like I don't know if I can live like this, but I mean, I will continue because she's like attractive and I like her. And then it took like Irena being like, yeah, no, I can't do this. I treated you so horribly. In my opinion, I just feel like that I would not have the confidence for, like, as Bliss is saying, like, she did admit this, I wouldn't have the confidence to come back to Zach. I wouldn't. My pride would be too high. My ego would not let me explore something that potentially could be good for me. But she does. She gives him a chance, and it's so interesting. The things that made him weird when he was with Irina were the things that made him kind of charming, a little bit more likable when he was with Bliss. You know, like, I really do feel like he is kind of a more like quirky person. Like, he's always wearing suits. Like, why is he always wearing suits? Like, you're off the clock. Like, you don't need to wear these suits all the time. He does stare intensely, but it's fine. But like, when he was with Irina, it was like weird and creepy, and like we read it as weird and creepy because she like pointed it out and said it, and then we were like, oh, maybe it is. But when he's with Bliss, like, I feel like they both kind of like nerd out a little bit, and they have like genuine discussions, and they talk about things as opposed to him just being like, let me tell you how you feel about that. You know, like, it just feels like they are both on the same levels in relation to EQ, as opposed to like Irina feels very immature, somebody who just wants to be messy to be messy. But yeah, good on Bliss for like keeping up with this. I couldn't. I was really wanting Bliss to reject the proposal because I was just thinking like, this is too quick. Like, and I was telling my husband, why is she even saying yes? If I was Bliss, I would say no, let's get to know each other a little bit more so I can kind of get over this feeling of feeling second. So I don't just, you know, do this experiment that was meant for somebody else. But then he said, like, because they wouldn't get a wedding out of this, you know, like, they wouldn't be able to be on this show if they had just like dated and done the normal thing. And I don't know if I agree with that. I really don't, because they keep bringing these random. They brought Josh back. They bring Irina in whenever what's her name, Micah, wants to have a talk with her. You know, maybe they would just bring them if they just dated. But maybe Zach was feeling like, well, I don't propose. Like, we're not doing the show's thing. But in my opinion, I think if I was Bliss, I would just be like, no, we can't get past this. But like, she seems like a very mature, very thoughtful person, so like, good on her. Chelsea. Somebody from the Betches, Betches Bachelor podcast, they're right now reviewing Love is Blind, mentioned that Chelsea is chuggy. And I fully like agree. There is something about the girl that is like a little bit, that was a little bit off before I like found out that she was like chuggy from that one person mentioning it on the podcast. I was like, there's something about her that like my husband said she just like tries to be hot. And that's like really mean to say. That's mean, okay? But like, I fully agree. It's mean, but it's just like how it felt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't doubt that Chelsea is like a really kind, wonderful, beautiful person, but there's something about her that reads as like kind of outdated, you know? And then like her apartment just felt very much like millennial scrolls on TikTok and tries to input millennial and Gen Z style together, but also she watched High School Musical 2 and was very inspired by Sharpay Evans' aesthetic and just really wanted to like incorporate the whole like Gen Z female empowerment, millennial decorations, and then Sharpay's full aesthetic and theme, you know? So yeah, I like Chelsea a lot. I do. Because I think she's kind, and I think that she deserves a lot. Just because she's like an open communicator, she's mature, she knows what she wants, she doesn't seem to be weak, you know, she seems like a strong woman. But there's something about Kwame with her that just, it just makes you feel like bad, because you want to root for Chelsea and Kwame on behalf of the fact that Chelsea's like such a good person. But Kwame himself, I think, is like a good person. I don't know him, like, just, but what I've seen from him, I just kind of feel like he's a little bit less mature than she is. And I feel bad because like she keeps saying this whole thing like, welcome to marriage, and it like almost reads as more annoying the more she says it, because it's like, I understand what she's saying, like, welcome to marriage. I'm in a marriage and I fully agree with her. Like, welcome to marriage. Like, you have to compromise. Welcome to marriage. Like, life is not going to be rainbows and sunshine. We're not just dating. Like, we're getting married. Like, we're building a life together. So, like, but what Kwame, I feel like, is kind of seeking out some escapism in his conversations with Micah, in my opinion. And that to me makes me sad for Chelsea, because it makes her look like the girl who's just like been single for so long and like is trying to force a connection with Kwame, when like Kwame was the one who I think he proposed. Kwame was the one who proposed. Kwame should have known that like he didn't want this life with Chelsea. Like, Kwame should have just known himself and been like, I just know I'm like choosing her because she's my second option. She's like the second best thing, and like that's kind of what it was. But instead, like, instead he just kind of saw the best in Chelsea and proposed, and they're gonna get married, I guess. But I don't think he's ready to deal with like the weight and the seriousness of this, because he just seems to be like really not wanting to like deal with this actual life that she wants, you know? And it makes me sad for her. It makes me sad for them. Also, Kwame's apartment. Oh my god. Like, the cameras didn't surprise you, I'm guessing. Like, I'm pretty sure Love is Blind warned them beforehand. Like, you're gonna go into the pods, maybe you'll come out with somebody, but after that, this is the schedule of things that are gonna happen. And, like, you probably had some time to, like, pick up your apartment. It just is so I just felt so much secondhand embarrassment for him looking at the apartment. Oh my god. It is crazy, because he's, like, 32. He's not 22. Even if you were 22, I'd be like, you have eyes and you are able to pick up your room. Like, physically, you are able to do these things. So why has that not happened? Why has that not happened? Somebody was talking about Kwame and Paul's apartment. To be honest, I have a little bit of a crush on Paul. So I really don't feel like I can accurately assess him honestly. I like looked past his apartment. I just felt like it was a step up from Kwame's. A small step, but a step. I like honestly excuse it a little bit more, because like I love people who find things on like Craigslist and like get things on the side of the road. Like, also as an environmental scientist, I did not expect his apartment to be like the coolest, best thing. Yeah, like, I just have a crush on Paul. Like, Brett is man candy to me. And Paul, somebody I could listen to talk for hours. Jackie. Whew. First and foremost, ladies, if you find yourself in an argument with somebody and they let slip that they just saw you as a project and how they could just lift you up, if they let that slip, you need to slip out of that relationship, seriously. That whole dynamic to me was so uncomfortable. I thought he was kidding when he was like, I saw you as a project, Jackie. I thought he was like, yeah, I'm only in this relationship because I saw you as a project. No, Jackie, I love you. I thought he was gonna be like that, but no, he meant that. And that to me is such a problem. That's such a problem. That's like, he was saying, this is what a relationship is, this is what love is, but no, that's what like a coach and like the coach's mentees relationship is, like a mentor and a mentee. That's what that is. When you have a partner, you want to see them as equal. You're not trying to like fix them. Don't get into a relationship with a fixer-upper in your eyes. And it was weird because like I understood he said that in the heat of the moment, but at the same time, when you say things in the heat of the moment, like, you do reveal actually how you genuinely feel on the inside. And I felt that he genuinely meant that. And I think that it's such a real dynamic for couples, honestly. Like, a man or even a woman will be attracted to somebody physically, but then also feel like they need to lift them up in a way that's like, well, since I see you and I'm attracted to you, although we're not on the same level, I'll get you there. And then just do that. Like, that's, to me, this felt very much like an age gap relationship. type of a dynamic, even though they're not an age gap relationship. It just felt like the power dynamics in this were weird of this relationship. But I will say that Marshall, also I said his name was Mitchell the whole last video, and somebody commented his name is Marshall. I'm sorry to Marshall. Marshall, he's not the only one at fault. Like, I truly do feel like he's such a sweet guy, but like, don't go into a relationship just knowing that you're the sweet guy and knowing that you can get the girl who like needs a sweet guy. Like, that's so messed up. But I will say Jackie, I feel like likes a little bit of like toxicity and like is self-aware enough to know that she's not going to be the downfall of this relationship, is what she said. Does not need to be on this show, does not need to be in a marriage. Like, she should not be getting married right now. I think we've all had fights or like phases where we've liked fighting, you know, where we've been the girl that's been like, where you just pick a fight out of nowhere. I feel like Jackie is kind of like that. She might have legitimate reasons for not feeling good or not like being the best partner, like that's just real life. But I feel like she also kind of likes to like get into those like emotions of just like getting enraged, you know? Girls sometimes like cause fights because they want to feel fought for, but then we kind of just end up fighting for nothing. Like, literally nothing. We just want to feel like somebody's hearing us and validating us, and like I feel like she'd like kind of test the limits. As she said, like, you're not a man. Like, she probably is used to fighting with people, and then like the guy who she's fighting with will come back at her with like something really hurtful, and then afterward they just like end up having like crazy makeup. Like, that's, I'm pretty sure, what she wanted out of that situation. But this situation just really hurt Marshall's feelings, like, and it's valid for him. She probably was like, what are you doing? I just said you're not a man, like, come back at me. And he was like, that really hurt my feelings. We're not allowed to do this. And I want to say, I don't condone anybody being called not a man just because like they're not aggressive or like very like in society's definition of like masculine. I so appreciate Marshall's softness and his ability to be in touch with his emotions. Like, he truly was being bullied for his emotions in that moment. But I think like Jackie wanted to go there with him and wanted to be hee hee ha ha about it, and like that, yikes, that was something. So I'm not trying to make light of like people being called like not a man for doing that, but like from her perspective, I kind of feel like she didn't view it as like that serious, which is sad because like that's not a nice thing to say at all. Somebody said this also on the Bachelor podcast, that like Jackie definitely signed up for the wrong show. Like, she was walking to like Too Hot to Handle or like The Circle or like some other show, and just ended up in this show. And it made me wonder, like, what is the promo that the show does in order to get you on, besides like sign up on our website for Love is Blind if you want to make a connection? Like, I'm guessing they might do that, but like, what is especially from the first season, like, how the heck did they get people to sign on for this? Also, when people aren't explaining this to their families, they're like, so we go on this experiment, and in this experiment you don't see each other, which was like really great for us because like, you know, you develop an emotional bond, and then after the experiment you might get engaged, and I'm engaged, you might get engaged, and I got engaged. And then like the families are just kind of like, oh, very interesting. To me, I'm like, yeah, so like Jackie to me does not fit the description of like what could be successful in the show. Obviously, like, she made it, she's here, but it's like, why would she want to do this and like be proposed to? You know, that doesn't make sense. Marshall wants so much for him. Oh my god, I want him to have just the world, and to also recognize his faults. But the way that he like made breakfast for her, and like he's in touch with his emotions, and he like makes her feel fine for crying and gives her space. That for a minute I was like, maybe that's a little performative. As I was listing out everything, I was like, maybe that's a little performative. And like, honestly, him saying like, I wanted a project feels also like, oh, you let the like performance slip a little. If he's very genuine, and if he like legitimately is that type of person and is a good guy, I hope that he gets a good girl. The whole friends and family thing. What? Me and my husband were sitting watching the show being like, this is such an awkward dynamic. The Brett and Paul meet the family moment with the friends, or meet the friends moment. Was it friends and family or just friends? I hated that. Oh my God, I hated that. I don't like when girls like grill their man, their friend's man, and like kind of do it in this guise of like, we're just so protective, like we just really love her, we really love her, she's the best, I really love her. Because like with Paul's meet the friends moment, he like, because I have a crush on him, he really did feel like, you could feel the discomfort in the room of him like being like, I'm not around people that I would click with ever. It's only because of this girl I'm trying to click with these people. As somebody who studied communications with a minor in photography, I can relate to this in the way that like my husband is studying aerospace engineering with a minor in math. Like, our friend groups don't intersect at all. Like, I get that. But the friends, especially Micah's best friend, I feel like she was really projecting. Like, her being like, I don't see this for you. Because he simply said, like, I don't really care what you think about me. Like, I wouldn't care about what her friends would think about me either if, like, I was just meeting the friend. My sister grilled my husband when we were just dating. Just to be like, hey, if you ever mess with her, just know she has people who care about her, so you better be careful. That type of thing. When it comes to the friends, it's like, I feel like you don't need to do all that. That to me, like, felt like a formality. And it was annoying when her friend was like, just like, I don't know, speaking drunkenly, and Netflix made it the dramatic edit, and I hated that. That moment was supposed to be like a silly, funny, drunk moment that they needed to put funny music over, but they put it like, oh, Micah's friends don't approve of the boyfriend, this could shatter everything. It felt like that kind of attention. But it's like, no, these are just like friends who I feel like are too possessive of Micah and like don't view her as an individual in the way that like, oh, she can have like a relationship and figure out if he's bad or good without me like giving my input, you know? And that's the problem I have with the friends thing, is like, I don't know if it's just for show or what. Relax on like the whole, we want the best for Micah, I've never liked any of Micah's boyfriends, I've single-handedly ruined Micah's relationships before. Like, that's so annoying to me. Like, did anybody else not find that like annoying? Or does just everybody do it because you want to like really weed out horrible people, you know? I feel like Paul was very nice, very respectful, and just honestly he should not have said like, I don't really care. He should not have said that. But also from his mom being like, Paul is the baby Jesus of this family. I feel like his mentality of like, I need people like me, my mom loves me. Like, he didn't say that obviously, but I feel like the golden children of the family have a complex where they feel a little bit untouchable by people, if like liked or not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hit too much on Paul's mom's and Micah's resemblance, because it just like, all I have to say is like, whoa, they look similar as hell. What the heck? One of the podcasts brought up how like, what if you went over to your partner's house and their mom looked just like you? Would you feel like that's a red flag, or that's like fine? Honestly, I'd be kind of like, that makes sense. I feel like there is kind of this idea that like, you marry your parents, so that just lines up with what naturally happens all the time. People gravitate towards people that remind them of home. My personality is really similar to my mother-in-law's personality in the way that like, we both are very good communicators, we're both kind of sassy, we both studied the same thing in college. A lot of similarities in that way. We don't look similar at all, but I don't really see it as a red flag at all. Like, unless like all of the exes looked like their mom, then it's kind of like, that's weird. Anyway, the party. Oh, so uncomfortable. Josh walking in, and then Jackie. That was like the main focus of this party, is like Paul and Jackie, and then like a side conversation of Micah and Kwame, and their like fantasy of escapism through each other. Honestly, like that's what that was, and that was weird. I don't like entertaining them. It's uncomfortable for me. Ugh, I hate love triangles or love squares, whatever the heck this is. Kwame is like a little bit too irresponsible with the way that he talks to Mike about things, because it's like, oh, I don't even know if I can get married. How about you? Like, oh my god, like sometimes I feel like I don't know if I made the right choice. How about you? It's like, relax, Kwame, relax. So the whole Jackie and Josh thing, yikes. It was so funny to me when when Josh was like clearly just a little bit, I don't know if he was too drunk or he was just being himself, but like he just gets too like touchy and weird. I was like, my body was fully tensed, like all on my husband's like shoulder, like, oh my god, I can't even watch this seriously, like, because he was just being too like, whatever's in the past is in the past, but I love your girl, I love her. And then Marshall just being like, what the what? Y'all see that? Did y'all see that? What was that? That was so funny. That was like the best moment of this whole entire show, seriously. Just like the moment of breaking that fourth wall of like, this was not normal. This was odd. Like, Josh and Jackie to me feel like they would have dated in real life. She seems like somebody that wants that type of a person. You know what I mean? In the way that like he seems to like to cause trouble and be messy, and she kind of wants a little bit of messiness because it like feel a little bit of spice and some romance. She likes the toxicity, but like she needs a Marshall, but at the same time she doesn't need Marshall. Like they should not be together, but she should not be with Josh also. She needs to find somebody who's like a mix of Josh and Marshall, like somebody who, I don't know, is like a hooper, but like really kind and like will not entertain the BS. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Also, I just need to add, we do not deserve Brett. The man's too good to be true. His only red flag is that he's just like older and hasn't settled down yet. Like that to me isn't even a red flag. It's just kind of like a why though? You're so fine. You're so successful. And you're so kind. Like that. Oh, also let me mention this about Brett and Tiffany. Why didn't I talk about this? Sorry. I feel like Tiffany's a little bit insecure around Brett, which I would be too. Like he has that big boy Nike money. I would be so insecure. Cause she like, he has this big boy Nike money and she like lives with a roommate, you know what I mean? And I feel bad about that. So I feel like you can just see the insecurity of them both, of her in the relationship. And I feel like that's going to be kind of like the downfall of them. If there is somewhat of a downfall or a crack in the foundation, that's it. Solid, he seems stable. Love him. We don't deserve him.